He killed himself to put her in a good place. You know, that is exactly how Quentin Tarantino described his own emotional exhaustion and just his profound dedication to finishing the character arc of his greatest protagonist. I mean, he spent an entire movie making her absolutely terrifying, right? But for the finale, he wanted us to feel the unbearable, crushing weight of her journey. Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to this explainer on the emotional, philosophical, and truly devastating core of Kill Bill Volume 2. Released back in 2004, this 2-hour and 17-minute conclusion to the bride's bloody revenge saga is so much more than just a showcase of amazing martial arts. Today, we're going to dissect exactly how Tarantino transforms a story of hyper-violent vengeance into a deeply tragic myth, one about motherhood, regret, and the inescapable consequences of our pasts. Section 1. A cinematic shift in blood, from vengeance to vulnerability. To really wrap our heads around this film, we have to look at the massive stylistic whiplash Tarantino executed between the two halves of this epic. We're literally descending from a neon-lit, adrenaline-filled action spectacle right into the dusty, psychological grit of a legendary myth. The contrast is just stark. Volume 1 was this blood-soaked feast of Eastern and anime influences, moving at a relentless, breakneck pace. But Volume 2, it slams on the brakes. It leans heavily into spaghetti Western influences, complete with those haunting soundscapes of Ennio Morricone. It's incredibly dialogue-heavy, it lets the tension actually breathe. So instead of just watching the bride slice through armies, we are forced to sit with her, to really listen to her, and to understand the profound psychological depth of her trauma. And all of that trauma is rooted right here in Chapter 6. Picture this, a black and white flashback taking us to a quiet chapel in El Paso, Texas. The bride is heavily pregnant, just rehearsing her wedding with her fiancé, Tommy Plimpton. She steps outside, and there is Bill, calmly playing his bamboo flute on the porch. There's this strange, almost tender moment where she actually introduces him to Tommy as her father. But of course, the warmth is a total illusion. Moments later, Bill orders his deadly Viper assassination squad to slaughter everyone inside. Bill himself shoots the bride in the head. This isn't just an inciting incident, it's a brutal massacre that sets the emotional stakes for the entire narrative. She survives, and a vow of absolute revenge is born. Section 2. The Deep Grave of Defeat. The Fall of the Bride. The path to revenge is rarely a straight line, is it? Just as we expect her to systematically hunt down her remaining targets, she faces her most suffocating trial yet. A trial that literally strips away her legendary unstoppable status and forces her into the dirt. She goes after Bill's brother, Bud, a washed-up bouncer living in a run-down trailer. But Bud has been warned, and he doesn't engage her in an honorable cinematic duel. No, his process is methodically cruel. He blasts her in the chest with a shotgun loaded with rock salt. It's not meant to kill her immediately, it's meant to break her, to completely humiliate her. He sedates her, binds her, and alongside his friend Ernie, seals her inside a wooden coffin. And then, he buries her alive in the lonely grave of Paula Schulz. Just imagine that darkness, buried alive. You have a cheap flashlight, a wooden coffin, and absolute vulnerability. There are no swords down there. There's no army to fight. There is only the terrifying, crushing weight of the earth above you and the slow, suffocating realization that your myth might end silently in the dark. Section 3. Cruel Lessons from Pai Mei. Surviving the Underground. Tarantino brilliantly connects her physical burial back to her past. To survive the underground, she has to dig deep into the psychological strength forged by her most traumatic memories. So the crucial point is this. Her survival hinges entirely on her time in China under the legendary and incredibly prejudiced Master Pai Mei. He held all these ancient secrets, most notably the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. It's a lethal, secret blow that causes a victim's heart to literally explode after taking exactly 5 steps. It's like a mythical curse, and a technique Pai Mei famously refused to teach Bill. Keep this in the back of your mind, because it is the ultimate key to the film's tragic resolution. But Pai Mei didn't just teach mythical death blows. He taught her how to punch a hole through solid wood from just inches away. We see the severe physical and mental torment she endured under him, punching wooden boards until her knuckles literally bled. And right there, in the suffocating darkness of that coffin, that brutal tutelage pays off. She translates that past abuse into unimaginable mental fortitude.
She barehandedly punches through the coffin lid, claws her way up through the suffocating dirt, and rises from the grave. And honestly, in one of the coolest character moments in cinema history, she simply walks into a nearby diner, completely covered head to toe in graveyard dirt, and calmly asks for a glass of water.
Section 4, Blind Vengeance in the Desert. Elle and I. Having conquered the grave, her focus snaps right back to vengeance, and all that deliberate slowness we talked about shatters for a sudden burst of absolute chaos. Let's trace this violently cathartic timeline. Minute 1. Elle Driver arrives at Bud's trailer to buy the bride's stolen sword for a cool $1 million. But Elle hides a deadly black mamba snake in with the cash, which swiftly bites and kills Bud. Minute 10. Elle calls Bill, lying that the assassin, using her real name, Beatrix Kiddo, for the very first time, is dead. But Beatrix is waiting. She ambushes Elle, sparking this vicious, close-quarters brawl that literally destroys the trailer. During the fight, Elle actually taunts Beatrix, bragging that she poisoned Pai Mei to death because he plucked out her eye. Enraged, Beatrix exacts the ultimate poetic justice. Using Pai Mei's exact technique, she plucks out Elle's remaining eye, crushing it under her bare foot, leaving her completely blind and screaming in the desert with a deadly snake. Taking a quick step back for a second, Volume 2 was an immediate smash hit. I mean, it broke the April opening record for an R-rated film at the time, pulling in $25.1 million in its opening weekend alone. The audience was predominantly male, hovering around 60%, particularly men under 30, yet despite those demographics, the core of this film is intensely focused on the very female experience of motherhood. It just goes to show how universal themes of grief, trauma, and that fierce parental instinct can resonate deeply with any of us, regardless of who we are. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer caliber of performances required to actually carry this dialogue-heavy narrative. Uma Thurman delivered a career-defining performance as Beatrix, perfectly balancing righteous fury with deeply conflicted maternal vulnerability. And David Carradine as Bill is simply mesmerizing. He's calm, philosophical, but incredibly dangerous. Both earned well-deserved Golden Globe nominations for this. Alongside Daryl Hannah and Michael Madsen, this legendary cast made the shift from pure action spectacle to grounded psychological drama completely seamless. Section 5. The Lioness and Her Cub, Face to Face. Which brings us to the climax. We leave the dusty desert behind and enter a sun-drenched villa in Mexico, where the unstoppable assassin is finally about to face the man who put a bullet in her head. But absolutely nothing can prepare her for what she finds. Bibi is alive. The daughter she thought died in her womb is 4 years old, happily playing toy guns with Bill. In an instant, the mythic assassin just shatters. Beatrix is brought to tears. The righteous fury evaporates, and she is instantly transformed back into a vulnerable, completely overwhelmed mother. And this brilliantly illustrates the tragedy of their dynamic. After putting Bibi to bed, Bill shoots Beatrix with a truth serum dart. He delivers this profound, philosophical monologue, comparing her innate killer instinct to Superman and claiming that her attempt to be a normal mother, her Clark Kent, was just a disguise. He finally admits the devastating truth. He ordered the massacre out of pure jealousy. He thought she was dead only to find her engaged to someone else. It's psychological manipulation at its absolute finest, masking his own broken heart behind a deeply twisted sense of ownership. Section 6. The Price of Salvation, the myth complete. And so the myth must conclude not with a massive sword fight, but with a quiet, seated skirmish. There is no grand, bloody battle like in Volume 1. But before we get to those final moments, let's move to 2025 and see how this builds into an enduring legacy. Even decades later, this story is still evolving. In 2025, Lionsgate finally gave the 4-hour combined cut, The Whole Bloody Affair, a wide theatrical release. It was even accompanied by the lost chapter, Yuki's Revenge, which is this stunning Unreal Engine 5 animated short that debuted in Fortnite and on YouTube. It resurrected a cut script sequence to show just how vast this world really was. But Tarantino himself confirmed in 2023 that the core story is done. There's no Volume 3. The tragedy of Beatrix and Bill is permanent. After she strikes him with that mythical exploding heart technique, Bill accepts his fate with astonishing grace. He takes his 5 steps, and he dies. Beatrix leaves with her daughter to start anew, and the film closes with the thought, the lioness has rejoined her cub, and all is right in the jungle. But ask yourself, what was the heavy price of her salvation? She survived the massacre, she punched her way out of a literal grave, and she killed the only man she ever truly loved. The physical wounds will heal, but the emotional devastation of her myth will echo forever. Thanks for exploring this masterpiece with me. Keep asking questions, and I'll see you in the next explainer.